video for linuxintro.com, and this video,
as you can see there, the video is actually quite a bit bigger. I had the microphone a little bit too close to a lot of these videos, so the volume's a little bit too loud and distorted. Anyway, alright, with video, the thing a lot of people don't understand is that with video, you've got there's three things that go into a video file. There is a audio track and a video track, and then there's the video's wrapper, which the audio and video track are wrapped together inside of a container, or it's actually called muxed together inside of a container. And the container contains certain information about the video, like its aspect ratio, its duration, its bit rate, things like that, and its frame rate. Now, the container is independent of the video's content, its codecs. And for example, we'll open AVID Mux. A lot of people who are novice video users or video editors will be using AVID Mux, but the problem is when you transcode things like DVDs, they're wrong when they get done with AVID Mux unless you know this GUI backwards and forwards, which I don't. You cannot successfully transcode any video because frame rates change during DVDs, and they apply various techniques like telesyn and interlace. And it's usually mixed between progressive, telesyn, and interlace, which causes everything to be all set. But as you can see here in the options menus, you have video, and then some options, audio, and then options, and then format. This is a perfect example of what I mean. With format, you have AVI, MPEG, and you got actually two types of MPEG, but most of the time you're going to need MPEG-PS, not TS. And then standard MPEG video, MP4, OGM, PSP, FLV, which is the flash files like YouTube uses, MKV, which is Matroska, which is the best wrappers, and then Dummy, I don't even know what that is. Anyway, AVI is an old and outdated container format, which is still commonly used because it's pretty much like a stripped down bare bones format, but it's got several limitations. We won't get into those at just this moment. We'll actually cover those in part 4, because in part 4 I'm going to show you guys how to use MKV merge, which is part of the MKV tool kit that you can use with Linux. MKV is a container or a wrapper that you mux video together into, which is what I use, and you can contain extra information, and it can even automatically split files up into segments for you for use on YouTube. It's actually a very great wrapper, and it's the successor to the AVI wrapper. It's not widely supported yet, but it will be. Anyway, with video, as you see here in these options, for video codec, you've got MP4, and then there's 3 different options for MP4. But what you need to pay attention to is not the third option, the libavc, which is library audio video codec. You can ignore that. It's not really so much a codec, it's more like a master codec that encompasses other codecs in its own format. X264 and XFID are 2 different video codecs that use 2 different video standards. And as you'll see from going to, for example, Wikipedia.org, actually here, even better yet, we'll just tell this to search Wikipedia. Alright, as you'll see on Wikipedia, when you search for MPEG-4 or MP4, it'll take you to a little page that tells you about the history, the codec, and things like that. They give you links to related pages. MP4 is the successor to standard MPEG. Standard old school MPEG has several limitations. It's what DVD players use. DVDs are MPEG TS streams, which means that they can contain multiple streams other than just audio and video. For example, subtitles, alternate audio tracks, things like that. MPEG PS is just a standard audio video stream, which is what a lot of your files that you download off the internet are. For example, from different websites, well, like porn websites. Don't ask me how I know that. Anyway, MPEG-4 has better quality and higher compression, which means that you can have a better video with less file size, less disk space. And MP4 is a standard, it's not a codec. And it's also the name of a container, like a .mp4 file. But the .mp4 file does not tell you what codec is used on the audio or video. It's only a wrapper. But MP4 is actually a video codec standard, which encompasses many different codecs. Of those codecs, there's the two most typical codecs is for example, the DivX codec, which the old Nero and DivX used to be based off of, and XVID, which is the reverse engineered DivX codec that's open source for Linux, which is what you see here, XVID 4. XVID is a great codec. It has high compression, good quality, and things of that nature. But X264 is a better codec. And the difference, X264 is often called the MPEG-4 Advanced Standard, or the Advanced Video Codec Standard. Now, the difference between X264 and XVID, or DivX, is that X264, the way it blends and the way it makes decisions on the picture, the regions, it yields a higher quality video. For example, if you encode a video that has a lot of dark scenes, or a lot of scenes with very few colors, it can appear blocky with XVID and even MPEG, unless you have a very high bit rate, which means a higher file size. With dark scenes, for example, scenes with a lot of black in them, with XVID and MPEG, unless you use a very high bit rate, those black will actually be gray, and it'll look like a film, like a film of goo. It doesn't include any details. It looks kind of crappy. And other than that, XVID is a good codec. But when it comes to dark scenes and other things like that, it's not very good. X264 compensates for dark scenes, and it still includes a lot of the detail, and it doesn't put it like a gloss or a film over that makes everything that's close to the same color into the same color. It doesn't do that. It actually gives you very, very good quality even on dark scenes. Another thing I noticed when transcoding with X264 is some movies are pixelated a little bit depending on the type of scene. For example, the movie I Spy, whether Eddie Murphy is boxing. Let me see if I can't find it real quick. Where Eddie Murphy is boxing, you'll see a lot of pixelation where the arena's cameras are. And look, for example, snow, things like snow become very pixelated and very crappy. Now in this scene right here, if you watch it on the DVD, the original DVD, you'll see where let me try to find a good example. Like right here where this light's shining down, it'll look pixelated and look kind of crappy. The X264 codec actually blends it to where it's smoother and it's not so pixelated and it looks better. So actually with an X264 encode, you can have quality that is better than the original DVD with not even a fraction of the file size. Now, with different video codecs, and you've got VCD, DVD, SVCD, those are all MPEG, different MPEG standards, old school MPEG, and we will not be covering any of those. The only two we'll be covering is XVID or DivX, whichever you want to call it. We'll cover that briefly, but we will cover X264 in great detail. Now we're going to come to the audio.